When you need nothing, you'll gain everything. The reality is, the reason you're not where you want to be right now in life is because you need that change too much. And that should piss you off a little bit. It's paradoxical. It doesn't make any sense. And yet, over and over again, the people who need it the least get the most. The rich get richer, the poor get poorer. Why does this happen? And how can we fix this? Because ultimately you're probably saying, well, how can I not need the goal? My life sucks right now. Or maybe it doesn't suck, but you need to keep progressing in life. We can't just plateau and accept our life. Well, that's where we make the differentiation between needing the goal and wanting the goal. And so you have two different types of desire: need desire and want desire. And what I see a lot of people get confused is saying that wanting is bad. And I see this a lot with law of detachment, people. They go on about how you need to let go of all detachments, all wants. And ultimately, what you need to understand is that desire, the want, the craving for more is what generates behavior. It's what generates and drives action, right? So from a biological perspective, if you have no wants at all, you won't take any action at all. So it's a balance. But if you need the goal, the need desire is stemmed out of a total internal emotional dependence on the goal happening. And so that's where you need to make the differentiation. So I'll go into need desire a bit more. So when you're in a state of need desire, as I said, you're totally internally dependent on the goal. So this breeds desperation. Everything, the actions you take, your thoughts, your feelings are all desperate. Desperation, this is crucial, desperation creates separation from the goal. Why? Because when you're acting from desperation, when the stakes are too high, when you're constantly analyzing everything that you're doing, you're living in fear. You're in constant analysis paralysis. You're living in survival mode. You're in fight or flight because the pressure, the stakes is too high, because it's life or death, or at least it feels like life or death from an evolutionary perspective. And when we're in this state of high stress, high anxiety, we cannot possibly perform and operate at our best, because in this state of fight or flight, when you're in a high level of stress, anxiety, you're in fear, you're fearing failure, you're not taking imperfect action. One, you're not going to be taking the large sweeps of action that you need to take, because to be successful, you actually need to embrace failure in business and any goal, really. You need feedback from actually throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks instead of trying to theorize it. But also, two other things as it relates to the unconscious mind and your self-concept. Firstly, when you take action from a position of weakness, from a position of negative emotion, when all of your action is wrapped in anxiety, stress, fear, doubt's a big one. When all of your action is wrapped in that, you're not going to fundamentally change who you are, because who you are is made up of your beliefs, and beliefs change through experience, but specifically experience wrapped in emotion. And if your emotion supports the current beliefs that you currently have, if all of the action you're taking towards the goal is wrapped in doubt, is wrapped in fear, it's wrapped in anxiety, then that's not shifting any beliefs. That's just reaffirming who you are. You're a person who lives in fear. You're a person who cannot take confident action. So it's just reaffirming that person, and it's not doing you any good. It's not shifting the longer term identity that you have. And the second thing that you're blocking when you're living in this survival mode from need desire, when you're living in this desperation for the goal because you need it too much, the stakes and the pressure are too high, as I said, the second thing is not being able to tap into unseen forces. Now, unseen forces are your unconscious mind. Now, 95 to anywhere up to 99% of the things you're actually doing, the actions you're taking, come from the unconscious mind. So you've got that as well, but you're not tapping into your unseen forces, your intuition, your creativity. Because what most don't realize is the best decisions come from your unconscious mind, because your unconscious mind is far more powerful than your conscious mind. The best sports people don't actively think. They let their unconscious mind take over. Same with the best musicians, athletes, name it. They're operating from the unconscious mind because it possesses far more intelligence and data and patterns than your conscious mind could ever do. So relying on your unconscious mind to give you spikes of intuition, give you spikes of creativity is great, but you cannot access those when you're in a state of fight or flight, because you lack awareness, you lack perspective on the situation. And without awareness and perspective, you can't take in the full picture. Without taking in the full picture, you just can't make those sorts of accurate, you're not giving your subconscious, your unconscious, your lower circuits enough data to really give you those sort of creative insights, those intuition. And when you're in this sort of fight and flight mode, your brainwave state is elevated in a state of stress. And in this state of stress, the connection between the conscious and the unconscious mind is separated. And so ultimately, when you're operating from this, you're not taking the right sorts of action in the first place. But even if you were, it's not causing lasting change. And you're not getting the added benefits of using 95% of your brain. So when people are operating from need desire, it is very difficult to achieve anything meaningful or lasting in their life, because they need the goal too much. And then the want desire is the complete opposite. You're operating from a state of calm, conviction, and certainty. It's all about operating from a state of inevitability. When you realize that the goal is inevitable based on who you are and how you act, there is no stress, there is no stakes. You approach everything with confidence, and with that confidence, you can take imperfect action, you can embrace failure. You can eat loads of shit and just try again and try again, because you know eventually it's inevitable. And from this, you can unlock the three things. You can take that sort of wide sweeping action without stressing about failure, because that's just part of the process. You can tap into your unseen forces. You can use intuition. You can use creativity, because you're in a state of calm and conviction. You're lowering your brainwave states where you can access the lower circuits in your mind. And thirdly, all of the action you do take is wrapped in this calm, confidence, conviction. It's aligned with the person you want to become. And when the emotion is aligned with the person you want to become, the experience and the evidence feeds into your beliefs and actually shifts longer term who you are and what is known and what feels familiar. So it causes lasting change. So we want to operate from want desire and stop needing everything. And when we do that, we will gain everything. And when you can reliably operate from this state of being, it is OP, it is overpowered. Now, how do we do this? And I sort of hinted to it, but firstly, you need to understand that if you follow the law of assumption, which is kind of the prescription to the law of detachment, if you want to detach from the goal, you need to assume that you already have it. You need to be the person who's already got it. That's a big mistake, because you're assuming the outcomes, not the actions which got you there. So for instance, I hear people saying, oh, you need to buy a $20 coffee in a nice hotel when you've got $100 in your account. No, that's a gimmick. Because ultimately, what's going to get you to the goal is mimicking the actions, not the outcomes. The lifestyle at the end isn't what got you there. And this is the confusion, right? So if you're mimicking some guy who's balling out of control and you're broke, you're just wasting money. You're not shifting any sort of beliefs that will get you to the goal. So you cannot mistake the actions that get you there and the outcomes which occur as a result. So instead of pretending you already have the goal, instead of embodying the outcomes, you embody the actions. So you paint out a picture of the person for whom the goal would be inevitable. The person for whom a version of you that in your current position as you are right now, it would be impossible for them not to achieve the goal in 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, whatever the time frame is. Paint that picture out. How do they think? How do they feel? How do they act on a day-to-day basis? What are their routines? What are their beliefs? All of this, their characteristics. And then you embody that person in how you speak, in how you feel, in how you think, in how you act as much as possible. And from that embodying of the actions specifically, the person for whom the actions are inevitable, then you can operate from want desire, because now you're in a state of inevitability. And fundamentally, when you're in a state of inevitability, there is no doubt, there is no stress, there is no anxiety, because you know for a fact that you're going to get there. So there isn't this massive level of desperation. Detachment is still there. You still want the goal, but it's in this sort of Goldilocks zone. Same with dependence. It would be bad if you didn't get the goal, but it's not the end of the world if you don't. You see what I'm saying? So it's sort of this Goldilocks zone. It lowers the stakes a bit. So it's not the end of the world, but it's still something you really want and you're passionate and obsessed about. But it's not from this need perspective, it's now from a want perspective. You still have really strong desire, but you just know for a fact that you're gonna get it. And that's the difference. And now you can operate in calm, in conviction, and ultimately inevitability.